seconds and I'll start a screen share. Okay, just give it a second. Okay, should be visible now.
Yep, can see it.
Okay, welcome everyone to meeting number 9 of the 20th of September 2023 of the SingularityNET Archive Workgroup. SingularityNET Archive contains a history of the activities of the SingularityNET Ambassador Program, and our goal is to provide a collaborative platform for the SingularityNET Archive community to share knowledge, ideas, and best practice. We welcome contributions from anyone interested in SingularityNET, whether it's a new project, code, example, or documentation. Just to cover some admin on the meeting issue. Last time we agreed to have action items in this format, like a checkbox of a signee, so we'll have to try and stick to that this time. I'll add attendees after the meeting to who was present. And the agenda is, first of all, we're going to go through the project board, as we do normally, and we'll close. This time we're going to close out issues for pay particular attention to closing out issues for end of quarter fund requests. So to confirm what the cost is for each issue, if any, and to close out any issues so that they are costed against the last quarter, which is going to end in September. And then the final part of the meeting is going to be Vanessa's. You're going to be hosting a discussion or addressing the quarter 3 report, yeah, Vanessa?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
do
good.
that then.
Okay, I'll get started. And the first issue, these are ordered by labels. So the first one is the Ambassador's GitBook, which is assigned to all of us. What was the latest situation on this?
Now, nothing really to add, because onboarding, same as last week, onboarding are still working on what should go in the Getting Started channel, and I'm going to copy that into the ambassadors so that there's unity. I mean, I don't know, I might actually try and get what we've got so far up there this week, even if onboarding doesn't finish it. But yeah,
Okay.
there's nothing to add other than what's from last week.
If nothing's changed, I'll just leave it as no comment. The current amount on this is $500, but presumably this is ongoing. So should it be closed out, or should we keep it open?
I mean, I'd say, at least keep it open until I've done whatever update I'm going to do, and I'll look through the whole of it and see. Peter, I don't know if you want to have any input into this, because most of the text that's there now is yours. Are you happy for us to just go ahead and update, or how do you want to work it?
Well, the channel itself, in my mind, it's always open to suggestions, but it's in a decent shape, at least I feel.
Oh, I mean the actual GitBook rather than the Getting Started channel.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, if you copy paste it into the GitBook, sure. I'm not sure what's the.
I think the idea behind it, Peter, is to have some sort of workflow between the Getting Started channel on Discord and the Ambassador's GitBook, so there kind of is a consistency between them, so that they can be. Is that right, Vanessa? Is that right?
Oh yeah, up to a point. I don't think it matters if they diverge that much. It's just that really nothing has been done with the Ambassador's GitBook since we sort of started the archive and added it to our workflow. So I just feel like quite a lot of it is outdated or inaccurate, and I just want to maybe take half a day and just really get my teeth into it. But I just want to check with Peter whether you would like to have some input into that, or check it first, or, because it's kind of your baby in a way.
Sure. Yeah, we can sync on that. No problem. I mean, if you want to discuss now, sure, that's fine too.
No, I mean, maybe the best way to do it would be for me to do an update and share it with you, and then we can revert or you can make. I mean, you have access to the GitBook as well, don't you?
Mhm.
So yeah, you could amend whatever I add as needed.
Okay, shall I put an action item there to update the ambassadors GitBook and
Yeah,
to
go on.
share with Peter? So we have something there. And I was going to carry on into October, so it won't be included in the Q3.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I think I could probably get it done in time for the end of
Yeah.
September.
Yeah, let's try and include it, I would say.
Yeah.
What's that?
Okay, I'll put a due date for the end of September then.
Go on then.
And if it's not done, it's not. If it remains open, then it won't be
Yeah.
charged. Yeah. And
Could you also add a note that when I've updated it, I'll also share it with onboarding, because I think it's useful that they kind of know that it's there and keep abreast of it.
with the onboarding work group, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's something for the later, for the second agenda item more so than right now. But it does make me wonder if there's been no progress since it started, if that warrants the 500 tag to it.
Yeah, how long is this for the whole life of the GitBook, the ambassador's GitBook? Vanessa, do you think? Or
I mean, I think I don't know, but I think you stuck that 500 in as a,
yeah, I mean, we
an estimate. But I think what I want to do is kind of, like you said, I guess it's like a workflow and trying to work out how we update things and what needs updating regularly. So I'm going to have a proper look at that. I feel like one of the things that we need to keep abreast of is work groups kind of seem to start and end, and it's, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of changes, and in a way I kind of think it's saved us labor not to consistently update with, oh, this has changed, oh no, it's changed back, oh no, now it's a different day. And like,
Yeah.
but yeah, maybe we need to decide how often it should be updated.
We're looking at the
Because
last.
I think, it's important that if we're going to get people looking at it and using it as a resource, it needs to stay relatively current. So maybe it needs to be updated, weekly. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Peter's got a point though in terms of the costs.
I
Yeah.
think that the fight. Thinking
so
about it, we'll try and do this work for the end of September, but that won't close the issue because I think there's more to do.
Well, let's just look back at the costs. The close issue. So there was a fund request in May. In May there was nothing charged against there was just a migration of the ambassador's GitBook to SingularityNET, and that was charged at $200. That has been the only cost against the ambassador's GitBook charged at all.
Well, maybe then we adjust the amount due for this. I don't know what people think is reasonable, but like if I'm doing a thorough overhaul of it, I think, that's a little chunk. And then we close that and create a new issue for ongoing updates for it.
So that $500, Peter, covers the period since June or July. So, but as you say, there hasn't been much updating of it. So are we saying $500, or do you think it should be less?
No, I think we need to take that down to less, but it's going to be whatever people think is fair for like a thorough overhaul of it and updating the stuff from.
Yeah, that's what we're deciding now. So what should it be? $200?
I mean, it really depends, right? I mean, a full overhaul, like if we plan to have that GitBook page as the end-all be-all resource of all information, yeah, then sure, it's a bit of a project, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's accurate.
I think Vanessa was saying that we closed down this issue, so might reopen another issue for ongoing maintenance, Peter. So for all the work from, all the work, it's kind of like, it's just basically, Vanessa, you will do your reform work. So should we say $200 on that then? And then all the discussions and all that we've had since June on this. The odd thing is these things still, this is an interesting issue because these things still take up time in discussion and trying to get them done, even though they are not, they don't get achieved and stuff. There's been all these discussions with the onboarding work group, and trying to get this,
I mean, yeah, there has been some time, but it hasn't been a huge amount of time. So, I mean, I don't know, 200, 250 sounds about right.
Okay, so I'll leave it at 200 then. Okay. Moving on to the archive GitBook for August. Vanessa, you update on that?
Yeah, can you scroll down a little bit? I mean, we have got an issue which I wanted actually to try and take first, which is about the data loss with the disaster in Discord. So obviously we lost quite a lot of August, but I need to go through and just see what there is. So yeah, I'm sort of wondering if we can agree to close this outside of a meeting, and if we can close it in a couple of days when I've got a chance to properly go through it. Is that all right?
Okay.
But I also wonder if the price for this should be reduced, because obviously there's been less uploading to do because we've got fewer summaries because they got lost.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But is it okay with people if we diverge from our usual practice and I close this issue when it's done in a couple of days?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't think we have that's an action item. And what should we put it for? Half, or it's usually $500 a month, isn't it, for archiving a month?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you could put it to, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like 250 might be a little bit high because there really isn't that much to it.
Okay,
Whatever.
okay. What should it be then?
I mean, 200, I don't know.
200, okay.
Because there is going to be a bit of chasing around and trying to tidy up.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, okay. Next one is the archival workflow design.
can we take this? I'd like to go through it. If you scroll to the bottom, I've posted a draft and I'd like to run through it. So I wonder, should we do that now or should we do that in the second half?
We can do it now.
Oh, fuck it. Let's go through it now if we've got time.
Yeah, okay.
While
I'll open it up and
thank you.
yeah.
Okay, so what I've got is based on the draft that we had already in the GitHub issue. And what I've tried to do is incorporate notes on what will happen when the new interface is ready. So Andre, you might want to correct anything that isn't true. So it starts off, a member of the archives workgroup sets up each new month in the GitBook with a link back to the GitHub board. So that's like an admin task that someone has to do, usually me. Then a work group lead writes a meeting summary, and we agreed that that should be ideally within 3 days of the meeting taking place. And the notes are that currently they write it however they see fit. But in October, we do need to meet with the work group leads. This is probably going to be mainly me again, to share our 3 templates that we've devised, ask them to choose and customize one of them and then use it going forward. I don't know what people's reaction is going to be. I don't know if they're just going to go, oh, fuck off, we'll do it how we want, but we'll see. And at this point, if people do adopt the templates, completing them is going to be still manual, but eventually it will be done via the new interface that Andre is designing. So Andre, I thought, like, we did say that people will be able to customize whichever of the 3 templates they choose. So I guess the interface will have to have a drop down at the top for which workgroup it is, and they just pick their work.
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I've started designing it today. They will be able to choose the workgroup, and they will be able to choose the interface. The template.
Right.
Right. Because what I'm seeing is that they will be able to choose their work group, and that would automatically give them the customized template that they've chosen. That's how
I've made it. I'm gonna make it so if they choose the work group, it would default to the template they use the most. But if they want to, they can switch to another template.
See, I
Right.
don't really want them to do that. I think we want consistency. So I think it's about the sort of engagement with them going, all right, you choose one of these 3, then you might want to customize it. And then we give your customized version to Andre, and he adds that as your template. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, that's fine. I can do it like that as well.
Nice. That's good. And I mean, yeah, if somebody, I don't know, if somebody hasn't engaged with it, then I guess they still carry on doing it manually. I don't know. But yeah, and we also just mentioned in the notes that the 3 templates include space for the inclusion of tags as well. So that's kind of trying to tie in with what we're trying to do around LLM finding aids. So then, okay, they've written their meeting summary. The next step is they post their summary, or after October, hopefully it'll be their completed template to the meeting summaries channel in Discord. And eventually that will just be automated by the interface. And then a note on data loss, I'm suggesting that they retain a copy of it until they see an acknowledgement in Discord that it's been posted to GitBook. So that's something we'll just have to ask. I'll bring that up at the next town hall, actually, and maybe sort of in the Ambassador General channel, and just suggest that. So yeah, once they've posted it to meeting summaries, one of us, probably me, adds the summary to the archive's GitBook and changes the title of the meeting to green, which I've been using as code to kind of indicate that it's done, so I can see it at a glance. If what we've said before is if whoever's uploading it is aware of any additional material that, you know, they know where it is, they can add it, but they shouldn't go actively searching for more material to add. So I think we'll keep that in as a possibility. And then eventually there's a note to say that eventually the process of posting to GitBook will also be automated by the interface. But we did have as an interim measure that we were planning for this task to be available as a bounty, and trying to store up some unarchived meeting summaries was what caused the data loss disaster in September. So I'm wondering, do we want to get rid of this idea, or is it something that we are gonna do as an interim measure to have, you know, that part of the interface, Andre, that would enable somebody who wasn't familiar with GitBook, and also to avoid us having to add people as editors?
Yeah, there's a this is for like previous meetings, not new ones. Or
No, it will be. I mean, it is new ones, really. It is.
yeah. What happens is when they complete the interface, it just updates the database, and then one of us has to go and look and approve.
Yeah.
We can do it like that.
Yeah, that's the point, actually. I haven't added that. I'm just going to add a note and I'll tidy it up later. So yeah, so what you're saying is that they'd be able to use, people would be able to use the interface, and then we approve what they've done. But it bypasses GitBook entirely, isn't it? So that we don't have to, it's not about having them as contributors on the GitBook, is it?
Yes. Yeah, they don't have to. But
Okay,
when we approve it, it automatically pushes to GitHub.
Yeah.
And then book updates.
So what I'm wondering is just about the sort of when things are ready. Will that element of it be ready before the kind of full interface that automates that process anyway?
Yes, when the draft, I'll have a draft ready when we so we can test the flow of it all. But when it's up and running, all the features will be ready.
Yeah, I know. So that's what I'm saying, is that if all the features are ready, then it posts to GitBook itself
Yes.
automatically. So we don't need anybody doing it as a bounty, do we?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, is then in that case, do we need to kind of delete this idea of people doing it as a bounty, or is it a useful test for part of the work? Because, do you know what I mean? If it's something that the interface, when it's fully finished, will do anyway, we don't need.
And the cost for that bounty, how will that be met? That'd be met from
It'd be a fund, yeah, it'd be a fund request.
it
I
would be a
suppose.
fund request, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like, would it be like just minimal bounties just to incentivize?
I think we said a tenner or
Right.
$10 per
Okay.
meeting. And it was mainly, we were talking about how to engage people and how to make people aware of the archive. So that was mainly the purpose of it. But what I'm just not clear about is whether the bit of the interface that will allow them to do that and then we approve it is going to be ready before the rest of the interface, in which case there will be a period where it would be useful and possible for somebody to do that work as a bounty. But if it's all ready, if the interface is all ready and finished together, then it's going to be doing it automatically. So there is no task to upload material to the archive.
Can't we also just reward people to use the interface as well, to do the meeting summary updates?
Oh,
So-
you need to actually write the summaries.
Yes,
Oh.
yes, yes.
Oh, see, that's a whole nother thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I think if we start making that a bounty, we're going to have to pay for it forever. And I don't know if that's something that the ambassadors as a group want to have as something you have to be paid to do. But I don't know.
Also could duplicate other ambassador work group budgets, because I think, as Andre, you mentioned in the last meeting, that people charge meeting summaries against their own budgets for their own fund requests.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's an incentive to ask, to give people a little bit of extra bounty to use the meeting summary templates and kind of almost they're running a test on them for us. I don't know if that's, but it would only have to be a really small bounty, I think, if people are already getting paid to write their summaries by their own work group.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe then they shouldn't charge for writing meeting summaries. They can we pay them instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, it might complicate. I don't know. People might not like it. I don't.
I mean, people are still posting meeting summaries in the meeting summary channel, even though since the data loss, yeah?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
They are, okay. So there is some continuity there, but not everyone posts summaries, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, this is an issue for, some people don't. But can we just backtrack a little bit to this idea of bounties to add material to the GitBook? That feels to me like it's not a goer, because there's not going to be a period in which one bit of it is ready and the other isn't.
Okay, so we won't do that.
I'm just, if Andre, if you agree with that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so we're taking that off, and I think there's a GitHub issue about bounties. So I think when we get to that, we just need to record that we've decided this is not a goer. So yeah, those are two things that I will need. I mean, actually, no, approving summaries, if they're not doing it, we don't need to do that, do we?
Yeah.
But there is that question of, do we pay people to write summaries, or does their own work group pay them? And I don't really know how to progress that.
Peter, what do you think on that issue?
Don't know who to ask or what to do.
Well, honestly, I'm not sure if it's, not to belittle the importance of summaries, but I think part of hosting it is also writing a summary. That should be in that same bucket of like facilitating, in my mind.
Per work group. So yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. And
yeah, I kind of do. I suppose I'm just trying to think, if we could incentivize for a short period using the templates and testing them out. That, I think, might be a sweetener to get people doing it.
It feels like this is all connected, so wouldn't this be like a kind of presentation at a town hall where we get commitments from people? I mean, we need at least some, well, we kind of do have a tacit agreement also from some work groups who are posting in the meeting summary channel for Discord, okay? And the whole point of this exercise is to archive and to, establish a memory for the ambassadors, program. So the question is, do people want to do that? And do they recognize that that also meets the AI aspect of the ambassadors program as well? Because there's all this work going in from us into this. So are people, want to buy into that as well?
I think largely we don't. Maybe people are just like, well, yeah, it's feedback that I've had informally is just like, yeah, I suppose, but they're not that excited about doing anything towards it. So I am just thinking that whilst I agree, Peter, that writing summaries as a general thing and documenting is part of the task of running a meeting, I actually don't think the facilitator should do it. I think there needs to be a documenter, but that's, neither here nor there. But I'm wondering if in the short term we could add an extra bit of bounty to incentivize people to actually use the new templates. I wonder if that would encourage people to do it, because what I'm anticipating is people just going, yeah, and then not doing it.
Well, that might be likely. Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I'm not sure if this template, if I saw that in the first place, if it's because I imagine that people would have opinions on it. Maybe it's too long, maybe it's too short, maybe it's missing something, whatever. I think once we went through a cycle of feedback on it, then yeah, we can pretty much. Well, I don't want to make things mandatory, but there's just information getting lost if we don't capture stuff. So
yeah, and it's also, that we've done a lot of work, on structuring them so that they will work with our whole kind of LLM process. So the idea is that I have been supposed for a couple of weeks now to go and speak to individual workgroup leads and go, these are the 3 templates. You can pick one, then you can customize it. You can add, anything that you think is missing from it. So I'll be doing that kind of one-to-one with people, but it's kind of hard to get people to agree to have a conversation with you. And yeah, we have had on the back burner for a while now that we're going to do something at town hall. We were supposed to do it yesterday, and I hold my hands up, it was my fault that we didn't. So yeah, I think if we could talk about it and announce it and say, look, we're giving workgroup leads or whoever you designate a little bit of extra, a bounty to actually undertake this process, then that would be good.
I suppose it could be a nominal amount, couldn't it? Because, I mean, how many meetings are there per week, roughly? Workgroup meetings. There's about 6 or so. 10, okay, but not all of those are documented. Only about probably half of those are documented at the moment. Is that right?
Yeah, about that.
So that if it was £10, if it says $10 per meeting, that would be like $50 a week.
See, I'm not thinking about it per meeting. I'm thinking about it as maybe a bigger chunk to say, all right, your work group, you can give, you can split it how you want, give it to who you want, but I need you to look at the templates with me, choose one, adapt it, use it.
Right. Okay. So it's more work than just the. Okay. It's actually co-working with people. Yeah. Then okay.
And I don't know what people think is valid, but as an amount.
Well, that's sitting down with someone for at least an hour or 2, isn't it? And
oh god, no, it's not going to be. It'd be like 40 minutes tops. But
40 minutes.
They've also got to go and do it.
Yeah, and then on their side, they have to go and review the template, don't they, to see if it's, and there's going to be feedback from that.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'd say that's more like $50 or something.
I was going to say 50. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that sounds about right.
Yeah, but that's just a one-off. Is that right? To begin with?
Yeah. Because they'd be
Oh.
doing meeting summaries anyway, but we just need that in order to get their 50, they need
Yeah.
to work with us, and then they need to actually do what they said they'd do. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think that is better. If it's a one-off, and then
Right. Okay. So that's the rationale behind that, is to incentivize the
Yeah.
participation in the implementation of the templates.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we probably need to add this in when we get to the issue about templating. But
Yeah,
yeah,
sure,
I've just
sure.
noted it there for now, and I'll tidy it up after. Yeah, so the next step in the workflow is once a summary is added to the GitBook, then the archives workgroup member, probably me, goes back into the summaries channel, acknowledges the post with an emoji, and replies to it, giving the link to where the meeting summary has been posted. And at that point, the workgroup lead can delete any copy of it that they've saved. And of course, once it's all automated, thank you for that little spell check.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't resist it. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so then, yeah, so they should keep a copy of their summaries until they see an acknowledgement, and then they can delete them. If the workgroup lead has any corrections to the summary, that does sometimes happen, and we and ah'd a bit about like what should be the deadline and how many corrections can they do and whatever. But I just think it happens so rarely that I'm saying that the workflow should say there's no official time limit, but we just trust workgroup leads to keep it within reason and not to give us like 10 corrections.
I suppose we can revisit that if it becomes a problem.
Yeah. But one thing I did want to ask, I mean, you don't have to answer it now, Andre, but it's just something to flag up. When the process is automated, how would corrections be made if it's already been submitted?
we can just make corrections in GitBook. That's fine.
Oh yeah,
But
we do it manually.
there is one thing before I update there's one database that just stores the information so if people goes into a meeting, they can view previous action items and stuff like that. That's the main purpose of the database, just to have access to that. But there's a process where I upload this information to the vector database. That's for the LLM to use. That process, it would be better to upload that data after the corrections are done.
Right, because some of the templates include things like action items, don't they? And is that
Yes.
right? Okay, which will be and maybe Peter, you might be interested in this. This would be pertinent to decision making in a work group, So it will capture decision making in a work group if a work group uses the template, or there's a variety of them. Yeah.
So we just need to do like that. See, there's a small window for the corrections. Then only after the corrections are made, I will do the updates to the other database.
So then maybe this isn't ideal where I've said we suggest a correction should be made within a month. Maybe we go a week.
Yeah,
I think a week is better.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to envisage mad eventualities. But yeah, I think if something happens where somebody needs to make a correction a month later, it's extraordinary and we just work with it, but it's not going to happen often. Yeah, so I need to sort of include that process of you adding data to the database as part of the workflow, really. So I guess it would go there. Yeah, what else was I going to say on that, Booker?
I think there's something to be, maybe it's out of the scope of this, but after we've done all this, we need to think about what we're using the LLM for. But that's a separate issue, I suppose, isn't it?
It is a separate issue, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but just that's it. I was going to backtrack to that comment on supporting decision making and recording action items and decisions.
Yeah.
the structure that Andre and I have been talking about is that the interface, when it's finished, would eventually kind of extrapolate people's action items and put them to the top of, I guess, a document or something, Andre, so that it gives them their agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they go into the interface and they choose their work group, it will basically show the template, and there will be fields populated with last week's data. If there are items that weren't closed, they will be in the already filled in some of the fields. So they can go through them, and then they can mark them as done, or just leave them to carry over to the next meeting.
So the burden of working out how each work group has to do that would be part of this liaison you're doing, Vanessa, presumably, because when you meet down with a work group lead or whoever it is in that work group, you need to review not just what template they're going to use, but how they're going to use the decision-making process.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so then the next stage in the workflow is at the end of it. I'm saying it'd be better at the end of each month rather than the end of each week, but you might disagree. A member of the archives work group, probably me, runs through what has been submitted for that month and notes in the relevant GitHub issue for that month which summaries are still outstanding. You'll see an example where I've actually done it for August, but then it didn't. No, I did it for July. That's right, but it didn't apply for August because we'd lost everything. And then whoever's done that work goes and contacts the relevant work group leads whose summaries are missing and asks about them. And it occurred to me that this could be offered as a bounty.
Right.
Because, anybody who can use GitBook, or anybody who can look at GitBook and go and see what's missing, and then anyone who can use GitHub can add that information and go and ask the work group leads.
We can add this to the interface as well, like there can be a separate section for back or meeting summaries that gets added later.
Sorry, I'm not following.
We can add this to the interface as well, so they just complete any of these summaries in the interface, and then we just approve it.
Oh, I see. Right.
We can make like a separate page, or instead of choosing work group, they just choose backlog or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, they could. Yeah, that would work. Yeah. So what do you think? Does anybody have any thoughts on what that is worth as a bounty? Every month running through what hasn't been submitted and then going and chasing the work group leads and saying, have you done it? Have you got it?
I think we're going to have to test that before we come up with a figure.
Okay.
But because how frequently is it going to be used?
Once a month.
Yeah. What will be the burden of the work? I mean, and who will be the people who want to step up to do it?
Okay.
I think in all honesty, this will turn to rather than pushing people to do it, it will simply end up being like, well, if you don't submit it, it's not going to be anywhere.
Yeah,
that's my experience so far with these kind of things. Like, yeah, chasing this. I mean, I don't trying it and chasing in itself. Yeah, sure.
I suppose I'm just thinking, like, maybe if it was the right person and if it was somebody charming and encouraging, they might be able to encourage people.
Yeah, we need to incentivize charming and encouraging people.
Is there anyone charming and encouraging in the ambassadors program?
There's Peter.
There is Peter.
Yeah. No, I suppose
maybe we should test it then. Yeah, because at the moment I am doing it, so yeah, I should take a little bit more note of how much work it takes. But generally, each week there's probably about 5 meetings that don't submit anything.
I suppose what we need to do is just, which we are doing, I think, is to make it as flexible and as easy as we can for people, and also to make it useful for people. And we've done that with the different kinds of templates, the different, and offering that kind of service where we're working with people one-to-one on that as well. You are really, And then the bounty would be like an icing on the cake, I suppose. It would just be a little nudge, maybe, to
Yeah, because I just think, like, if you have the right person who's engaging with the work group leads and finding out what the issues are, if they said, well, it's because I fucking hate this template shit, then we know that.
yeah,
And maybe we have to move towards them doing it manually. If they go, look, well, we just haven't got a documenter, maybe the archives group then needs to take on recruiting documenters and giving them bounties, or maybe that should come out of the work group's money.
Yeah.
But you know, if it's just that they can't find someone who goes to their meetings and is willing to document, maybe we can help make that happen. I don't know, but it is important to find out if somebody's not submitting summaries, why they're not, rather than assuming.
yeah.
So,
I think some of these issues will be clear once we've tried it. So that's why there is a test aspect to the first iteration.
no, I know it's all, but I'm thinking of, because all along we've had ways to try and engage the community more with the archive, and I'm looking for tasks that can be given to someone to try.
Yeah, sure.
That's what I'm trying to do here.
As early as possible as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the point.
I mean, okay, so I'll do a little bit more looking and look at how long it took me when I've done this. And then maybe we can think about putting it up as a bounty for
Yeah.
someone. And if no one takes it, then we know, don't we?
Yeah.
Yep.
Then, oh, go on.
No, I just agreed. Yeah.
Okay. And then, yeah, the last little bit of the workflow, if a meeting didn't take place at all that week, then we still change the title to green in the GitBook, since there's a valid reason for there being no summary, because it didn't happen. So then anything that isn't green is missing. And that's just a little visual note for me. I find that useful. It probably won't be necessary once we've got it all automated, but for the moment, it's good for me. I'm suggesting that if missing summaries have been chased for 2 weeks with no response, they can be signed off, and the GitHub issue for archiving that month can be closed. That sounds fair, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose we'll get a picture of who does summaries, who doesn't, and
Well, this is the final point. Yeah.
yeah,
The archives work group should periodically monitor how many summaries are being submitted. I'm not sure whether we should do that week by week or month by month. I think month by month gives a more zoomed out picture.
yeah,
And
okay.
just note any upward or downward trends and bring any issues to the GitHub board.
Yeah, I suppose that's going to be the kicker at the end, isn't it? To see how much is it used.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, even if it's 50%, that still provides some data.
Yeah,
And
I think
we may have some way of indicating, you know, some information that's not related to like, right, for example, a meeting occurred. Even that basic information.
yeah, I suppose so. I suppose so.
I know it's not archiving, but it does. We are in a sense already tracking that, because we're tracking. We know when meetings occur, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I suppose that's something.
yeah, that is something. Yeah.
But I just feel that all this kind of tracking and chasing is bountyable.
Yeah.
So that's my suggestion. That's my exciting new suggestion for all of it.
No,
But
it's
yeah.
great. It's great work. It's,
All right. So I will tidy that up with the notes that I've added, and we can then close that out as a workflow. You know, the workflow issue can be closed. So I'll do
Okay.
that tomorrow or later today.
Okay. So I'll close it. So I'll let you close the issue. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll just tidy up those notes, and then
Okay, I'll put you to the up notes.
But Andre, you couldn't see anything obvious missing from that workflow, could you?
No, I think we've covered everything there. Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually a workflow document, isn't it? I think workflow document after, and it's more of a, there's a lot of thought went into the workflow document.
And I'll also create a new issue about, well, I'll add it to the bounties issue, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the best way.
Now, keep this practice of action.
Sorry, now that took
You're gone.
yeah. No, that took a while. So thanks for taking the time to go through that.
No, I think we need to. It's good to have it documented in the sense of recorded because of that was a proper review. So this archival workflow design, we want to close it for this quarter. That's $400 for, it's been months of work then, hasn't it? Or
well, there's been a fair bit of discussion and conversation.
Yeah, a lot of discussion, which is like kind of come to a culmination in the document, but also there are that document is now, as we've just discussed, leading on to other work. So I think that is quite a lot justified for that amount. If anyone else wants to comment on that, but I'll leave you to close the issue, Vanessa.
I'll do that tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, moving on.
Maybe we might need to at some point reopen it when the Andre's interface is live, because we might need to amend it. So, but anyway.
Yeah, or we could create a new issue for the next quarter. Yeah,
we could. Yeah, that's
okay. Moving on to LLMs to create archival finding aids. I'm not sure if this is a duplication or not, but what's the?
I don't think so. Just scroll to the bottom and see what we've got.
All right, superseded by the deep funding proposal.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no cost against that. Shall I just close this?
I mean, I guess, yeah.
Well, it doesn't really matter.
But then the thing is,
I think it can close it.
But I just think if we don't get funded for deep funding, then we'll just have to open it again.
Well, we might as well keep it open anyway because it's not charged.
No, that's true.
So the only reason why you want to close an issue is one of the main reasons is to charge it. I mean, we will, or it's completed, and this isn't completed, is it? So it's basically on hold pending the deep funding proposal. Yeah. Yeah,
that's my feeling.
Okay, so it's the same situation, and just keep it open. There's no charge against that. Next one is meeting summaries from Ambassador Town Hall. The last update on this was an open portion to be included in meeting summaries channel and the link to public slides to be included.
Yeah, something that does happen here is Roho started requesting for me to include at the very end of the call a verbal summary, which in a way kind of works for this maybe as well. Because basically what I'm doing during the town hall, I don't know, I'm not quite sure on how to best summarize. For this week, it would be workgroup updates, which I'm not all of them gonna repeat all of them, and then we had a session where we had a consent check on code of conduct implementation that passed. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I guess that line on code of conduct check for consent that will be relevant.
Yeah. So how are you? Well, the question is what documentation does there exist for the Ambassador's Town Hall? Just the slides, Peter, or are you capturing decisions or some kind of summary of what the workgroup updates? I suppose the workgroup updates are just are in the recording, aren't they?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's outside of it, the capture is just the actual recording. I mean, that goes straight into the public drive and later edited version into YouTube.
One possibility, the slides provide a kind of framework, don't they? Because you do a different slide for each town hall, is that right?
Yes. Yeah, well, different.
Yeah, well, it's like an agenda, isn't it? It's like, so that provides a context in a sense. We could run it through a transcript AI, maybe. What do you think? Because I did do some experiments with a new one, well, not a new one, Claude AI, which I summarized our last ambassadors work group, actually. I can show you some of the results from that. But if you are doing the town hall where it's like recognizably you almost signposting. I know it's difficult to do this. Like you say, you know, now we're going on to this work group. Yeah, this is a decision we're discussing. If you say that out loud, then in theory that should be picked up by an AI.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's really.
Yeah, it's not.
The way.
It's not perfect. What do you think would be a better way then to just get someone to summarize it?
Yeah, well,
Say like if you're talking about the last ambassadors town hall, you agreed you had a consent vote on the code of conduct. That should be recorded in the archive, ideally with a link to the code of conduct. And I'm just thinking, how are we going to derive stuff like that from a recording?
Well, it kind of presumes someone is documenting it.
Yeah, I suppose it does.
yeah.
Like any other work group.
I just put in chat what I would for this call. I would put as a meeting summary outside of the stuff that's always going to be in there. Like, well, we started off by having a work group update, and then yeah, stuff like me calling out that tomorrow there's an AMA session on the supervisory council election. I don't know. Does that need to be in the summary? Like, I guess it can be, but
Yeah, I guess it
just a
would.
call out
wouldn't it?
for one thing.
No, but Peter, we kind of raised the point of if we want to capture decision making in the ambassador program, that those are relevant to decisions. It doesn't have to be too much of a burden, does it? It just has to say, like, it also, if you intending to do a meeting or a town hall, and you've got things to say or things to decide, that can be just as simple as just a sentence or just
fair.
a
No,
list.
that's
And I don't really see what the problem is with that too, because all the other work groups are doing that as a minimum, I would say.
I guess because it's not a work group. I mean, you
Well,
know,
in a sense, it is the work group, isn't it? Because it's like, I don't know, it's an interesting issue. Because decisions are being made there, and there is a summary, there's like a status of work groups being stated there. So to me, it seems to me like to be the central work group, you know, even though we're trying to be decentralized, I suppose.
I'll try and put one in meeting summaries right now, and then you can have a check and see if it's kind of sufficient.
Yeah. I suppose all it needs to be is just like, I suppose the minimum would be is a decision bin. What's the really important points from it? And as Vanessa, as you said, like what documents were referenced, like really important documents were referenced, I suppose.
Yeah, I get it.
But I guess like maybe sometimes there would be no summary needed if an ambassador's town hall is literally just updates from the work groups and they have given their meeting summaries already, then
then you could just put that in the summary. You could just say all that happened was we could even have that as a pro forma we could cut and paste. So you could just say all that happened was, you know, a meeting summaries from the work group summaries. And I suppose then you could just, well, I don't know, it could get quite boring, couldn't it, that summary? Because if it's going to be the same work groups summarizing, but at least it says what happens there. But most town halls, there's usually something else.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
wrap up the one I'm typing right now, and then I think that would like some feedback on it, I guess.
Yeah, but yeah, simple. Keep it simple, and I'm sure it'd be, you know, if we can have a look at it, that'd be great, and then we can incorporate it within the archive.
yeah, I mean, personally, I think it's valid to say sometimes there is no summary, and it's fine.
Okay. Okay, this has which is still ongoing, and I suppose we keep it open, and there's no cost against this.
Maybe we can make a template for Peter as well. Then he can use the faithful town hall.
What do you think, Peter?
We can use the minimal
just
one.
the meeting summary. It's very short. On On templates, yeah. I mean, I don't mind, but the meeting itself has a template. Basically, like I said, like there's workgroup updates, then some specific callouts for events happening that week, and then whatever is the topic of that week, let's say. So that in itself is the template, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of a way that. Let's see how it works in the Discord channel, and then see if we can make it easier or whatever.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did post it, so that action item doesn't have to be an action item, or is a completed action
Well,
item.
we can, my God, we're so efficient. You know, look at that. But let's keep it open, because it's like I suppose the subject is meeting summaries and the Ambassador Town Hall, and it's like an ongoing issue, really. So the sense of how can we improve it and how can we archive it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll move on to the. I'll move on to the quarterly report now, or should we do that for the end of the session?
I mean, I don't know. I sort of think it might be quite good to make sure we have time for it, but we have got an hour left. But yeah, should we run through it now?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Is there a document for this, or
There is, if you scroll down.
I can't see it?
Oh, wait a minute. Did I not add it? Well, anyway, I will put a link
Or if you put a link in
to it
chat.
in the chat. Sorry. I must have forgot to put it in there. Sorry.
Okay. No worries.
There
I
we go.
suppose we should discuss it because it's quite, you know.
Yeah, just because we haven't got another meeting before the
Yeah.
end of September. So, yeah.
Okay, here we go. But is this a draft, Vanessa? Or...
I mean, it is a draft, but I think it's fairly complete. What I've
Right.
done is I've grouped what we did under the GitHub tags. So meetings, development, archives management, community engagement. And I've tried to put a link to the relevant
Issue.
GitHub issue
Yeah.
where there is one.
Okay, good.
And I've added a section on our plans for Q4. If people think that shouldn't be there and we don't want to commit ourselves, then we can take it out. But yeah, so meetings is just continuing to hold regular meetings and using our GitHub board to record our work and refining work that you did, Stephen, to manage funding requests.
Yeah.
So that, I think, is all we've done in relation to meetings. Development is just the continued research that Andre's been doing, and also submitting a deep funding proposal ties in with that, I think.
I can actually put a link there to say via Notion and link into
Good point.
Because that was a bit of work.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I think where it is share. Publish. Okay. Yes, I'll put the link in there. Maybe it's better.
Yeah, if you add that. Oh, okay,
or,
nice one. Yeah, right.
Actually, if I put it as a hyperlink, rather than a.
Oh, it's all right. But just put it in and I'll tidy it up after. It's fine.
Okay. Yeah. There you go.
Lovely. All right. So development. I don't know if it needs to be a little. If I need to write it in a little bit more detail or something, but I don't know. That's been quite a bulky bit of work. So.
What do you think, Andre? Do you think that covers the work that you've done in summary, high-level summary?
Yeah, it's mostly just been research and building the interface, but it's like early days.
Yeah.
And setting up the database.
I guess maybe that second point, began building an interface, blah, 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 could do with a link to like which issue would we link to there?
Yeah, I can drop the issue links.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, if you could do that in chat, that's great.
Because that one links to obviously the LLMs issue.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, cool. If you can add one for the second point, that would be great. And do people agree that we should include the deep funding proposal as kind of the archives work in our quarterly report, or should we keep it completely separate and not? Because I think it's really integral to the development
Yeah.
work.
I suppose this group, I think the only difference I can see is it's got a different funding line. It comes from we're still managing it as part of this group, so
Yeah, I suppose.
like if we get funded for that, touch wood, then we will report of it in the issue that we're managing here. So
yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
And then it will have its own. I suppose the only difference is it'll have its own reporting requirements as well on top of that. But that will be integral to that issue.
Yeah. I suppose we're only mentioning it. So yeah. Then archives management, it's just, continuing to do the regular archiving thing. But I've mentioned the data loss in August, and we've discussed the idea of safeguards and, asking people to hold on to until things are uploaded. So we could say that. We've also continued to archive the backlog, and I need to add a link to the backlog issue. Then there was the work we did to refine the structure of the archives, and I put a link to what Andre shared in that issue about the tests using the Archive Oracle tool. And then I'm linking to the workflow issue, and I'll tidy up the draft. But I think that's kind of the main work we did on archives, on the actual management of the archive.
Yeah.
Unless I've missed anything.
I think.
Okay.
No, I think that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
I mean, I guess what we could do is look at the if we look at the GitBook in that view that shows you everything under, rather than the Kanban view, the overview. And I sort of looked through to see everything, all the issues that were there under each of the headings, and I think I've got everything. So yeah,
it's sort of grouped here in our budget, if you like. So
yeah, that's true.
So we could, although that's not really, it only reflects what's been closed. So
yeah. And then community engagement, it's the bounties process. We've kind of decided that we're not doing that anymore. So we did put a lot of thinking into researching it, but I don't know if we want to include it if we've decided it's not going to work.
Well, we did research it, and I think that is work that we did, even though it may not be, paid for or whatever. It's kind of, and it's also the groundwork could be reused later.
Yeah, maybe. No, that's true.
Yeah.
And then, the templates issue, and a note that we, will be socializing those to people. And then our plans for Q4, are people happy with those?
Yeah.
Is there anything else we should add?
It's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty ambitious. So hopefully we will achieve it.
I mean, the one I wanted to ask about was this branching out to offer archiving processes to other parts of the SNES, because we did discuss that briefly last week, and we thought it might be an idea and might be something we could develop, but I don't know. Is it something that we want to?
Maybe.
Go on, Pete. Go on, Andre.
I'm thinking maybe taste it here, Q4, and then maybe next.
Good point.
First, we can branch out once we are comfortable with how everything works.
I mean, I think the way we can describe that is, if we've created a archiving and decision system that also captures decision making and then can feed that into an LLM, and we can stabilize that, then we can offer it as a kind of product, if you like, to other parts of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Now, whether we can achieve that in Q4 is
Oh no.
is another thing. But we
Yeah.
certainly could begin talking to people in Q4.
Well, something to note here as well is that right now, at least, these spin-offs don't have ambassador programs. Like they're not, and this is something that from a broader ambassador program perspective, I'm also working on trying to push here and there, slowly starting to convince people. But if there's no ambassador program, what would you be archiving? Like most projects have, well, their own GitHub, for example, or yeah. So like if there's no community program, broadly speaking, being run, then what would you archive?
Well, we don't
I
need.
guess their you know, whatever work they're doing themselves. I mean, yeah, I know what you're saying about they have their own GitBooks already in place, but we could implement this for kind of, you know, if they have meetings, if they have discussions.
Yeah, if we capture their work meetings,
Yeah.
and essentially if they want to go back and they want to find out the way that they make this decision, or then this tool can help them find stuff easy.
Yeah, I mean the process is pretty generic, so they don't really need a program, you know. So it's the only thing is, I suppose, the only question is whether they would find it useful to have something that would capture whatever documentation they're producing, whatever decision they're making. We can also work with them on meeting templates as well, and offer that as a service to them. And you know, whatever, you know, and that service can be then tailored to how they run things. And then the final point is that how is that fed into an LLM? You know, so that's you know, it doesn't. So I mean, Peter, it can be quite generic, but also it does come down to you know, what they want in the end.
That's true. Yeah, I really can't speak for spin-offs, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's about people's initiative, isn't it? I mean, I suggest what we do is just reach out to people and see what happens.
But in terms of the quarterly report, I think you're right that we should say we would be focusing in Q4 on testing it and seeing whether it's something that we could put together as a service to offer people. And then we'd be hoping to do that in the following financial year, Q1 next year.
Yeah, certainly just, testing it, refining it, you know, so that's probably going to take up most of Q4, to be honest. But if we can get it to a nice stable product, if you like, for want of a better word, then that could be take it forward into the new year.
But for me, in terms of our quarterly report, I think this emphasizes why the testing that we want to do of, you know, the templating approach to meeting summaries and all that, why that's important.
Yeah,
because it will help us develop something that we could then offer to other parts of the ecosystem, I guess.
yeah, absolutely.
But all right, if that's
well, it's one thing I did in the meeting section, if you can include the work done on documenting our meetings, which I do.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So basically, managing the project board, timestamping the recordings, and all. I'm not sure how you just say them in one sentence, you know. And linking, maybe we can link to the. I've got a YouTube playlist I could link to.
All right, I can add that in. That's
okay, because that is, I know it's pretty trivial, but it is work. But
it's work, isn't it? And we need to say what we've been doing. All right, well, if everyone's happy with that, I will make those adjustments and additions. And I guess I don't even know where these go to. I think they go to you, Peter, don't they? So.
Nope. One remark, and I don't have the meeting agenda in front of me, but on the fund request side of things, it seems to be that this work group is the only one working on a quarterly base, and I'm not sure how. Well, it makes it hard to estimate the quarter budget if there's fund requests coming in the last month or at the very end of the quarter for the full quarter.
What are we
Yeah,
actually working on? Have you submitted funding requests monthly, Stephen?
I think fund requests have gone in for May and June.
Mhm.
So we just haven't submitted for July, August, and September.
Yeah, that's
Right.
it's
So,
well, it's something that came up during Treasury. Like we were looking at the quarterly budget and trying to estimate more or less as
Yeah.
good as it goes, what the remaining budget would be, and then we noted that there was nothing from archive group side. So yeah, just I'm not sure what I'm trying to push here, but
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if in future, I mean, I think one of the issues is that we haven't closed any issues or anything since June, have we? Because we've been keeping
Well,
things open for various reasons.
we have closed. I mean, we closed quite a lot in July. There's some
We
there.
did, you're right. Okay.
And in August, and September, we're just going through the process of closing now.
No, you're right.
I mean, my assumption was from the last Treasury conversations is that you're not planning in advance. Is that right, Peter? So you're not asking people to do a budget in advance.
well, no, that's accurate. Well, on a broader context, for Q3, we've been experimenting with these fund requests, and
Yeah,
before that, we had simple allocations per work group, like
yeah,
static allocations, more or less.
yeah.
And
we've been
part of
following.
the experiment is that it's after the work is done, people put in a funds request for. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like for pretty much everywhere, that's been on a monthly basis.
Right. Okay. So you think we should do it on a monthly basis then?
That would sync it with the other fund requests. But that being this whole experiment for Q3, part of the experiment is figuring out what are we going to do in Q4, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, on the future outlook, I'm not super sure what will happen, because we have been spending quite a bit more than the previous quarter, also in different ways.
Right.
Yeah, but that will have its own evaluation. But yeah, all the others are doing it on a monthly rhythm. Let's put it like that.
If we can come out of the quarterly report, because this is relevant to raise an issue on the archive workgroup budget here, which are this discussion with Peter is just relevant. So this issue describes, what we're doing in this meeting, on the archive workgroup budget, which is going through closing out issues that have a cost against them. And you're right, Peter, that's been on a quarterly basis. I'm not sure when we agreed to do that, but we can change it to monthly by having an action here. What do you think, other people?
I think that's fine. Yeah.
So,
yeah, and so just noting this would be pending on the evaluation of the whole experiment of fund requests in general.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
so in the end, in practice, it might not happen because we'll be putting in a funding request for Q3, won't we? And that's that we can't do anything about that now because it's September. It's going to be quarterly, and then it's going to be reviewed for Q4. Is that right? So it might not be the same anyway.
It will be October, so that we will put in a fund request for October 2023 on a monthly basis.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll do that.
Nice.
So I've been following. I mean, as you say, Peter, the TiVo and Treasury work group came up with this format here, which I've done a screenshot of, and we've been following that format. We submit one fund request per month, but we've been grouping them. So we have been, like, for example, if I put in a fund, we'll put in for this quarter, we're putting separate monthly fund requests for July, August, and September. But we've been kind of grouping that, but we still put them as three separate ones. So in a sense, they are monthly, but we've been waiting to the end of the quarter to submit them, and that's why there's been that gap. But I suppose what would be better now is to have it monthly. That's what we agreed. Yeah. That's accurate. Okay. Yeah. So that's a big confusing, because if you look back, we have actually been submitting monthly fund requests, but just on a quarterly basis. So, yeah. So yeah, but we can do that from October. But in the first instance, there'll be a group of free funding requests for July, August, and September. Okay. We kind of skipped that and skipped how to archive group meetings.
I don't think there's anything new on that, is there?
No, we kind of just added some changes. This is an ongoing issue, really. I don't think there's any, well, yeah, there's a nominal amount against this. I think we should just keep it open because it's just improvements to this process, really, essentially.
All right.
Unless anyone
I was going to say, I think we've got a process. I was going to say, I think we could close it, but
you don't close it.
I don't know, because it's mainly you that does it. So if you feel there's still things that might change, then yeah,
I think the action items. I mean, do you think this is reasonably smooth? How we're doing it now?
Seems to be.
Any naysayers?
Nay.
Okay, I'll close the issue, and it's $50. That was for, well, how does it, and so close that. That's one thing closed. It should disappear. Now it's disappeared. Okay, I created an issue for the archive GitBook for September, Vanessa.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't. Yeah, but I will. So don't. Yeah, I will get it done in the next couple of days. So yeah.
And I'll leave the amount and everything open for you. Okay. Have we covered the archive GitBook backlog? I think we mentioned it in passing.
I mean, I think there's just ongoing work, isn't it? And I suppose the only answer is, do you need any help with it, or
the only thing was
because it's mainly you that.
Yeah, but we were talking about applying Read AI or a kind of doing transcripts from any recordings or and then do Read AI, but you need access to Read AI, Andre?
Yes, yeah, I would need.
So that's still.
Yeah, we do have Read AI the ambassador program account.
Yeah. So you were going to approach TiVo to get access, Andre? Or...
I don't know if there will be cost implications. That's why I also thought maybe leave it until later, until I'm finished with this tool.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean I suppose that the where we're leaving this is because what happened was when we originally started the archive backlog, we archived a lot of images, which have actually turned out to be useless, really, because they're not text. Is basically the only alternative is to input some kind of text, and that's either just from the minimal record that a meeting took place, which is the minimum, to going back to recordings and applying Otter AI or Read AI to those recordings.
I mean, that's one thing, is that we could, and I think we should include whatever whatever Read AI transcripts we've got. But also, if we include a link to like Miro, then if there's ever a time when we find a tool that can extract text from Miro, then at least we've got the links in the right place.
Yeah, I mean, sure, we can. I mean, a link to the Miro board is, I suppose we can do.
Yeah, when this tool is finished, I'll get access to Read AI, and then I'll build something to capture the text of all those meetings.
Okay. Right. And now, pertinent issue, safeguards against data loss in Discord? You raised this issue, Vanessa.
Yeah, I was going to take this at the top of the meeting actually, but I just think with the archives group, we can't ignore the fact that that happened. So yeah, implementing a couple of safeguards. What I'm suggesting is what I've already said, which is number one, we ask workgroup leads to hang on to their summaries until we tick it off and say it's archived. And then also adding material to the GitBook weekly, as we did before. And you know, we've got rid of this idea of building up some summaries that we can offer as bounties. So I will get on that, and that's mainly me. But I just wondered if anybody's got any other ideas about safeguards that we could be doing. It is possible to back up a Discord server. It's a bit fiddly, but I wonder if we should be thinking about that, and maybe, you know, as the archives group, we should have some input into that, and we should try and help with that.
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest. I mean, I don't really know what's involved in backing up a Discord server.
I mean, I googled it and it looks a little bit fiddly but doable. So I don't know. What do you think?
This will
Peter?
also this will also be maybe a temporary thing, because once the interface is up, we'll have backups everywhere.
I don't know. I mean, that's true in terms of meeting summaries, but I'm thinking about the fact that so much was lost from the Discord server overall. And even though it's not directly our remit, I'm just thinking, as the archives group, maybe we should be mentioning the issue and thinking about whether there's anything that can be done to prevent it again.
Have there been any discussions on this, Peter?
Well, a little. Basically, what I'm aware of, at least, that you can do is make a server template, which will copy the channel structure of the server. However, it doesn't save any of the messages, content stuff. I'm not sure if there's a fix for that, to be honest. Not on my radar.
I think there is things let me just find what. Carry on, and I'll just Google what I Googled before.
So you were saying, Peter, that as far as you know, you can just back up the structure?
Yeah, pretty much. It's called server template. It's an easy way to share your server setup and help anyone create a server.
Okay, yeah.
So it just copies all channels, basically, the layout in that way.
Yeah, I suppose the only other thing is, I mean, I suppose there's the security, isn't there? But do we know how it happened? Is it just someone's login was compromised or something?
I think it was Felix's when he.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, basically, he clicked. Somebody approached him for reaching out about Cointelegraph, whatever, with a Discord invite link, which got clicked. And then he lost basically his login token. And as he has admin rights on our server,
yeah, that could happen to anyone, to be honest.
It's true.
Yeah. I mean,
like his setup is super strong, like VPNs, firewalls, all that jazz, 2FA enabled, everything. But yeah, when you lose your login token, it's fucked.
Yeah, I mean, we can all say, I mean, it could have been any one of us, and I suppose we're not perfect, are we? We can't be perfect all the time. I suppose it's being vigilant.
Yes, we are perfect. I don't know. No, I've just added a link in the chat to the one that I came across, which is a Chrome plugin called Discord Exporter. So you can actually save your chat. I don't know if it's worth it or if it would be valuable.
It's got a very small amount of users and reviews, but
yeah, I know. It's the only one I found. There's one that I've used in the past, which is no longer still active, which is a bit of a bugger because it was actually quite good. But
I thought you could I thought you could just save the whole thing as a text file or something. But I don't know, maybe I was.
No, maybe you used to be able to, but
yeah. Okay, well.
Oh, let me see. I'm just trying to find.
I mean, I mean, from the archive perspective, I suppose the key information is is there some echo on?
Oh, it might be me. Sorry, on mute.
Yeah, the key information is, for example, workgroup decision making and summaries. So that's what we're covering from the archive workgroup. And I suppose that's where the critical backup should be. But as you say, Andre, go on.
There's maybe if you create your own server somewhere else and you just follow the channel, I think there's a way you can push messages from. So if people post messages in that channel, you can push it to one of your own channels.
Yeah,
in one of your own server.
I think that could be quite hard to administer because it means having different servers for different work groups. So
yeah, it's gonna be a pain.
Yeah,
And if the servers change, you'll have to change it as well.
I think the main thing is maybe just asking people to keep a separate copy of any documentation they do on a Google Drive or something.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
I mean, if we're producing templates, or I mean, I think if someone is holding a work group meeting, I think it's pretty minimal requirement that there's some kind of documentation that people are keeping. Yeah, I mean that's a reasonable expectation.
Yeah. But I guess, if it ever happened again, then we do lose all those chats. And sometimes it staggers me that there's no simple backup solution on Discord. But no. I guess maybe we see it as a positive thing, and it's like if it should ever happen again, it's like a reset. I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose it clears out the yeah, I don't know. I mean, the other thing about those it has archiving implications actually, because back in the beginning, when I was looking at the backlog, I was searching through historic Discord posts to get an idea of, because what I think I know Grandano used to do meeting summaries in November and December in his own channel, or and that's all lost.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, one thing you can do is you can request a backup of your data directly from Discord. I don't know if it would be worth doing that on a quarterly basis, just so that the most or even I don't know. So the most you ever lose if it's ever hacked again is since the last backup.
Do you have to contact Discord themselves to do that?
You do, yeah, you do. Okay. But I don't know if people think it's. Here we are. I've got a link for requesting a copy of your data. Wait a sec. So yeah, obviously we'd be doing this when it's all still there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just thought we should discuss it. That's all. But if it feels like it's, as long as we keep the archive and the meeting summaries, current, and we don't let it build up, maybe that's all we need to do. And if it ever gets hacked again, then just see it as a reset. I don't know.
I mean, again, it's like in any. It's about a question of ownership of the problem, isn't it, really, as well, in a decentralized environment. So, I mean,
and I sort of feel like we should have something to say about it. But if what we're saying about it is, well, it's probably okay as it is, then that's fine. But I just felt like we couldn't really just ignore it and wait for somebody else to do something about it.
Okay. Is the ambassadors work group addressing this, Peter, in any way, or you don't mind if you lose your data at any point?
Sorry, I didn't get the last part of that sentence.
If you don't mind, so there are options to back up data from Discord. Is that something the ambassadors would like to take on?
I guess. I mean, I can't speak for. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's a separate. I'm not part of my group anymore, but you know,
We need a fix, but like I think the one the Discord exporter thingy, that one requires you to submit your login token to a plugin. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's the whole one attack factor that can't be prevented. And yeah, on the copy of your data, I'm not sure how that will work. It looks like it's your own personal data, so it would be personal posts onto a server, not a full server backup as such.
All right, because I was reading it as the server owner could get the hot, but yeah, you're probably right. Actually, now I look at it properly.
Well, I'm not super sure, but that's what I'm reading.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it looks like there isn't really a good solution.
There might be, but I haven't found it yet.
I don't know. I've done a fair bit of Googling, and those are the things that I've mostly seen. I haven't really seen any other suggestions. So yeah, I think it's mainly down to making sure that we keep the meeting summaries updated. And of course, once it's all automated, it won't be an issue. But
it does make me wonder, like something like this Mesh AI bot, which is pretty much scraping all the public channels. Like, would that put it somewhere?
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah. I'm sure
it actually
does.
it shouldn't it, Andre?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
We can maybe ask Felix to talk to Jingles.
Yeah,
He can maybe build something to back up the data somewhere.
Yeah,
but you'll only have access to, so the data will be in a database. I don't think you'll be able to restore it, but you can access it. You'll have to build like an interface so you can make sense of it and search the data.
That sounds like quite a project, but yeah, maybe it's something.
I don't know, it might be worth asking the question, because it could be more straightforward than that, Andre. Because really, it's just an LLM, is that right? The Mesh AI?
Look, he captures the text in the channel and then he saves it to the database. He's saving it in a similar way that I'm saving stuff. He also has to process it and save it. But if you want to capture the data as it was in the channel, you might have to, I don't know what his process is. I don't know if he stores that raw data or he processes, he doesn't care about, he just processes and stores the vector stuff.
Yeah.
But if you store the raw stuff, then you still need to access that. And you will need a user interface to access that. Unless you build it, no, you will need.
Yeah.
Or you can build a tool to push all those messages back into a channel. But that's going to be even more work, because then you have to build. Get all the, manage all the channels and stuff. So rather just build an interface to look at all the messages. But that's also not a quick task.
I suppose it's really with Jules and Mesh AI, because again, it's a data loss from their perspective, as well, in terms of, so I suppose that question should be directed to them, really. Is how are they using that data without a context, I suppose, or what is the context for that data now it's no longer in its source?
I think that data is already stored.
No, exactly.
So he still has that data, but
the question is, what question would you ask it if you don't know the context? So all you can say is, oh, give me everything that was discussed in this channel, presumably at this time period. You wouldn't know anything else, would you? By this person, by this person maybe as well. But you wouldn't know. But maybe that's not a problem. Sorry, let's get off topic here. So
I mean, maybe is it something that we could raise somewhere where ambassadors gather and just say, you know, have you thought about it? Is it something that you think would be worth looking into? Because I think if people's main feeling is, well, if it did happen again and we lost everything, then the chat in a Discord server is kind of ephemeral anyway, and that's just a risk you take, which might be people's view, and I think that would be valid. Because, you know, the work it would take to restore it all may well not be worth it.
Yeah. No, I don't think it will be worth it.
It's an interesting issue because it's come up actually in other servers and other communities where the archive was the Discord server.
Yeah.
Oh,
If you like.
goodness.
Well, essentially, a lot of communities are run that way, aren't they? Because that's all the only tool. The only tool that people have is just their communication tool. You know, so. And if they lose the content of that, they don't have anything else. I suppose so I suppose it kind of puts into perspective the role of the archive group a little bit. But again, it kind of also limits our scope. It limits the scope of what we can cover, because all we can do is cover decision making and meeting summaries, really. So move on from there. On to the next issue, which is Publicising Archive Workgroup meetings. And right, so I suppose we should be attending town halls to encourage participation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything to add from what we said. That we were gonna maybe create some slides and try and share something and I haven't done it. So yeah, I don't think there's an update, and I think we just need to try and do it next time.
Okay. I'm not sure if there should be a cost against that. There'll be a cost against that? Not sure. And it's open, ongoing.
I don't know. I don't think so, honestly. I don't know.
Something to note here is that we're also looking into a bot that would automatically push the Google Calendar events to a Discord event.
Ah.
So that in itself would help there.
That would be good, actually.
Yeah.
You know, that being said, a little shout out in the archive work group, for example, in the channel, like, yo, meeting is about to start. Here's the link. Something like that.
I keep meaning to set that up because it's quite straightforward, isn't it, to set up an event in Discord, you know, so but to do it automatically would be good.
But then saying that, we have done it manually quite often and it doesn't bring people to meetings. So
isn't it? Okay. To Discord.
The groups are shifting. There's new people joining in. I don't know. It's relatively small effort, I would say, but it's literally meeting is about 1 hour. Join us. Like,
okay, I'll put that there, and that remains open, and move on to the next one, which we kind of touched on already, bounties for archiving meetings, but we want to discuss this a little bit further, Vanessa.
I think if we just note that we've decided that there isn't going to be a way to do those particular bounties, but we're looking at bounties to kind of check what's been archived and chase people. And I'll do some thinking about that, and we can try and implement it for, I don't know, next meeting maybe, if we try and set it up in the next meeting.
The bounties for checking
checking what's been archived and like chasing people and
right.
I guess analysing how many meeting summaries we're getting and whether it's going up or down and blah blah blah.
This will also help, maybe, because I think people will get involved if they see these bounties, and then they might come to these meetings as well.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I'm not sure that if I understand the first part, that there's no way to set up bounties for joining for archiving. Yeah, okay, not for joining this archive group meeting. Check, I misunderstood there.
Yeah, sorry, it's not very well.
That's right.
it's not very well phrased. No budget, I suppose, really. Or
No, it's not that. It's just remember when we had that lengthy
Oh.
conversation about half an hour ago about how there's no way to create a bounty for, there's no need to create a bounty for people to actually archive meetings for us, because by the time we've got
Yeah,
that
yeah.
set, it'll be automated.
yeah, no need. Yeah, I should put no need. That's clear. It will be superseded by tool. Okay, so so are we keeping this open, this issue?
Well, the bounties issue,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay. We'll keep that as no budget for that at the moment. Okay, guidance notes and templates for meeting facilitators. We kind of touched on this a bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything to add because I still need to go and talk to people about it.
Okay.
But yeah.
Is that closed though because of the work just done on the templates?
I don't know if it is until we've shared it with people.
Okay. Finally, well, the penultimate issue, tool development, Andre.
Yes.
Yeah.
I made this example as well. I'll drop it in chat. So this example, but I think I'll put this in a Word document and then share it with you.
Yeah.
So you guys can comment. I'm still playing it. I'm trying to make it pass. This is what the end result was. So the tool will eventually push this to GitHub.
Yeah.
But you can change the format. I'll stick to the usual format you use with the week and the date and the work group name. And then, so this first one is the full archival, and then I've got the minimalist and the narrative at the bottom.
Right. So these are all based on templates.
Yes. So this is the idea of how, based on Vanessa's templates, this is what it will look like in GitHub, in GitBook.
That's quite cool, actually. Yeah.
But we can, you guys can have a look. Maybe I'll put it in a Word document, then you can leave comments.
Okay.
Maybe I'll just add it to your document at the bottom, Vanessa. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for doing that, Andre. And move on to the governance GitBook. Again, the last things discussed on this was well, you know, is it going to be continued? Are we going to merge it into other GitBooks? I suppose that was a discussion we were having.
Was it? Was there a suggestion to merge it with something else? I don't remember that.
Well, I'm just taking notes here from the last meeting.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think we talked about getting rid of the governance GitBook, did we? Or did we?
I don't know.
I remember something. Sounds familiar.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem to have any lead on it, or you know, yeah, I'm not sure what's happening with the governance work group on this.
I mean, the last meeting we were discussing the idea of including documentation from the deep funding work group in it. We've now got some documentation. There's been 2 meetings. We could do that.
Right. Ah, what you mean your focus group?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, would you want to run with that?
Yeah, I can do. Yeah. And we can see how it, how it looks and if it feels right for it to be there. And I'll run it past the group when they next meet. But in terms of other stuff in the governance GitBook, there's all that work that Felix and I did on the governance framework document and kind of sending, having links out to Word documents for people to comment. But I don't honestly know what the governance work group is doing and if they're going to pursue that. So I think it raises questions about what goes in the governance GitBook then.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main point. I mean, I just don't know. So, I mean, do you have any meeting summaries from governance work group?
I think
No, it was paused for significant amount of time. I think there was one last week, which Felix did put a summary for. It's when the RNDAO people joined sharing and their harmonica stuff and these kind of tools.
Mhm.
But I think broadly speaking, it might be very nice to have the deep funding focus group also document the experiments that are not theirs, but deep funding's experiments with well, anything related to governance. Like if it would be a ecosystem-wide keeping track of what we're doing kind of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
might be a bit out of scope, but it would be very useful to have, well, documentation on all we're testing and experimenting with.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I kind of feel like the governance work group is one thing because Felix does quite assiduously send meeting summaries and everything, so that's covered. But yeah, I think there are other things beyond that work group.
Yeah,
Even Felix himself is doing. So I don't know. Maybe that's just a conversation. Like, what have you got that needs to go in this GitBook? And that's kind of community wide.
Yeah, for the record, I mean, I was putting a lot, well, you and me were both putting a lot of time in governance work group until a certain meeting, at which point that work has ended and it's not going to resume. So that's the end of it for me. So the meeting summaries for governance work group are covered by meeting summaries, but I suppose the only other use is deep funding focus group.
No, what I'm saying is we don't know that. I think there might be other things that are going on in governance in broad terms. And that should be in there. I don't think it needs to become a parallel archive. And I think we've had this conversation before about the difference between an archival GitBook that documents stuff as it happens and something that's more like the ambassadors one that's just a source of information that is updated periodically. But I don't know. Originally, the governance GitBook was trying to engage people with governance practically, by asking them to comment on the governance framework doc and all that. But what is the main governance activity now? And I guess that is maybe a question that needs to go out to certainly Felix, but also just like everybody.
I think definitely it's broader. It's I would say foundation wide almost, like broader than the ambassador program, broader than deep funding.
Yeah,
certainly broader than the governance work group. But yeah, it's a separate project almost, right? Like keeping track of what's happening in the governance work group. That's pretty reasonable scope, let's say. But at least what I think when I see the governance GitBook, it feels like it's broader than just the work group.
No, I agree, absolutely. I mean, maybe what I should do is if I create a doc and just try and list things that I think maybe could be covered in it and then try and share that and see if anybody's got any suggestions, because I'm thinking about all the sort of deep funding stuff that's going on and yeah, but yeah. Let's try and make a list and then see if it's manageable.
But really, that would just address documenting, documenting what exists in governance terms that's out there. Then, Vanessa.
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
We can add that to here as well.
Yeah, because unless we know what there is and how frequently it changes, we don't have an idea of the scope of it and how feasible it is to, collect it. Yeah, it does absolutely links into SingCom DAO as well.
Which in itself can be a blessing, as that could be a potential source of funding as well.
Yeah,
The same for deep funding.
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. Seeing the position of the ambassador program compared to, for example, deep funding, the resources are 60 times bigger, I believe, on
Wow.
deep funding side. So, yeah, might be interesting.
But you're right, it would be amazing to kind of pull together all the governance efforts and somehow see if the GitBook could highlight parallels and differences and thinking about governance in different parts of the ecosystem. I think that would be really cool. Feels like a bit of a chunky task, but I think it might be feasible. And also, you've got to bear in mind that when all the archiving stuff is automated, I'll have more time to do shit like this, which would be ace.
Yeah, absolutely. Just SingCom DAO. Okay, that's great. So I think that's the last project board issue. Go back to the agenda. I'm not sure if we've covered the agenda completely. Just checking. Okay, so we've gone through the project board. We've closed out issues that we could for end of quarter funding results, which we're now going to change to monthly funding requests. So we don't have a kind of gap. Vanessa, there's some issues that you've got to close, but there are only one or two of them. And we've related the closed issues to the status of the quarter 3 report, which you actually just covered we've covered the quarter 3 report, haven't we? So
yeah.
So that agenda item is also completed. So that is it for this meeting. Thank you very much. And I'll just stop the recording.